Hello, everybody, and welcome to day number 2 of the VALORANT Game Changers North America Series 1 presented by Verizon. I am your host, Sajideen, and I'm so excited to bring you day number 2 with an amazing panel with me today. Here to break it down for day number 2, I have urban extraordinaire Mimi, aka Evil Cat, and the podcaster goat that is Wyatt. How are you both doing? Mimi, I'm going to start with you here.
I'm doing good. I'm living the dream. I'm glad to see that my legacy with you is just urbanism posts on Twitter. I like Valorant too, I guess.
I love it.
But cities are cool.
Exactly. There you go. Wyatt, how you doing? First Game Changers. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very excited to be here. I always enjoyed watching the scene and co-streaming it and all that. So actually officially being a part of it, very cool. And also glad I made it here on time because I didn't realize it was in Eastern. I thought that I thought the world revolves around me in Texas in Central Time. So that would have been cool to just get fired on day one. But no, here on time, all good.
We got at least one day in. That's a good way to get things going.
You know, you're here, you made it, it's perfect. Now, we do have a quick look around, because when things started off, we started with 48 teams. We're whittling it down. We have, 12 of the 32 teams looking to advance into the next round coming into day number 2. But, man, look at this. These rosters, not surprising here so much, Mimi, I would say. I think to me, the biggest standout still is Newt. But anything out of the ordinary for you as far as the names that we're seeing?
Yeah, I think it's just some of the free agent squads that are making it in. That MRB team, who it's been a brand in Game Changers for a while, but they've kind of continually had to rebuild new rosters. They've made it in to that next round, into the double-elimination phase already. But I think you're just generally run-the-mill stuff. All of our main big organizations that we expected to make it to that next phase already have. So now today is going to be about kind of fighting through for those last few teams in the lower bracket.
Yeah, definitely. This is kind of the point in the Open Qualifier, right, where it's the opportunity for all of those unsigned teams that may have been grinding it out to actually make it through, get a chance to, be in contest against all of these signed teams, the cores of these teams that have been around for so long, get a chance to see the upcoming players in the scene that have been here for a while. And yeah, I mean, already a couple making it through, like you said, the infamous BO1 win against version 1, and now they've made it through, so we'll see how well they can do.
See how and I mean, we can break this down even further because we do have some of the top players from yesterday taking a look at their performance. I mean, okay, we talked about how we saw complexity even on this stream. They have, while you're not necessarily seeing it here, absolutely dominating the board, but it's Keen seating up on top with Fluorescent to follow here. I mean, I'm going to start with you, Wyatt. Anybody surprising, not surprising? I feel like a lot of this is expected, although some new names for me, at least, with Nellblood.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of these players, yeah, like you just said, Nellblood, some unfamiliar faces, and then, I mean, just the most obvious one. I mean, it would have been shocking if Fluorescent wasn't on this list. I mean, she's just one of the best, if not the best, mechanical player in this entire tournament at the moment. And still just so much potential, so much growth that could still happen, under the leadership of Mel and just with how young she is as well. I mean, still just a player to watch and a no-brainer for being in a top 5 like this.
Yeah, and I think for some of those names that you maybe don't know as much or wouldn't expect to be up there, Kay from Team Karma, that's on those free agent squads that's already made it into the round of 12, was absolutely playing out of her mind yesterday, as well as Nellblood, who is a player that I had never heard of before until yesterday. And then after the first map of her team's game versus Teddy Tactics, she subbed in, and for the second 2 maps was God's gift to Valorant. I could not believe some of the things she was pulling off on the Killjoy. So I think these open qualifiers always prove to us that even if we think we know who some of the best players are and who some of the best talent is in this scene, there's always someone new just waiting to come out and have their moment.
Absolutely. And, not to age myself, it's always the Nellblood, Youngbloods coming in, and I love that the scene is growing, flourishing at the way that it is. So I'm so excited just to see how far they'll go today, and even just all throughout of Game Changers here. But we do have a specific matchup for this stream in particular today. It's going to be the deciding match here for Group G. And let's pull up that groups right now because this is a rematch of sorts that we're going to be seeing here from Having Fun and Colossal.
There's quite a bit of history between these teams, at least earlier in the group there. But I think this is kind of the outcome you would expect when you're in a group with XSET. It's going to be pretty tough to be one of those top squads out. But I think what was surprising yesterday is that HF was actually able to take a map win over XSET, and their loss in that series was only in overtime. So I think that Having Fun team is one that is going to be really exciting to take a look at today, and might be better than I think a lot of people expected.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That Having Fun team, watching a bit of their game against EXO was really impressive, especially considering that team has only been around for a couple of weeks and already able to take a map off XSET and damn near won that game because the third map, Haven, was in overtime. So already that squad looks like a serious contender, one that can actually compete with these signed orgs that have the resources. But for this match specifically, like you said, Sajid, we're going to have this rematch here from the round one against Colossal. And that first match did not go well for Colossal in any way.
Yeah, did not go well is a kind of an understatement given the scoreline that we saw from that matchup. I mean, even pulling up the maps that we're expecting to see, I'm curious. I would just not expect Lotus or Pearl to show up, but then again, it is Colossal who picked Lotus, so maybe that's the only one that they'll let through. I don't know, Mimi, do you feel these maps are going to make a double-up appearance coming in for today or not?
It's going to be interesting to see. I think both these teams, I like that they're trying to innovate and head towards something new on those newer maps. But this is the map, Vito, from yesterday. This isn't what they're going to be playing today. And the history there is tough. That match didn't end up being streamed, but it very much was a one-sided affair for the side of Having Fun. They were trying to come out and play some interesting things on the side of Colossal Gaming. They went for this Gecko pick that they brought into Pearl. It didn't really seem like it worked out, but overall, it was just like one team utterly diffing the other throughout that one. So this is a pretty tough position to be in if you are Colossal Gaming going into a rematch.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, like I said, with Having Fun only having 2 weeks to practice, their map pool honestly looks pretty solid so far. They have 4 that I think are pretty reasonable for them to play on. Ascent, where they beat XSET. They took XSET to OT on Haven, and then they just rolled Colossal on the 2 maps they played there with Lotus and Pearl. And on the side of Colossal, their wins actually came on Haven, which is a good map for Having Fun. And then their other win in their previous match came on Fracture, which Having Fun are just banning. So even just from the maps alone, it is just looking extremely tough. It's just a rough matchup in a lot of different ways for that squad.
Okay, well, let's deep dive a little bit. If we're looking at it from the overview of the maps, what about on the individual level? I know we do have a head-to-head here with Rain and Hero Wyatt. Do you feel like it comes down to as well this individual performance? These 2 players absolutely need to pop off for it to be changing today?
I wouldn't say that these 2 players necessarily need to pop off, but they definitely have to contribute, especially Hero coming in as an IGL. And with both these players, these 2 matches that they've played in this group are their first matches ever. Like, these are just 2 upcoming ranked demons that the core 3 who have the experience, who've been playing on other rosters that have been signed, they kind of scouted them, discovered them, and are putting a lot of faith in them, using one of those players as their IGL. Mm-hmm. So I think as long as these 2 can play their role and do fine, the team will be fine. I don't think they necessarily need to go nuclear.
Yeah. I was really interested in this squad when I was taking a look at it, because the core players of having fun is Julia, is Luna, is Bungie. 3 people who have been on signed teams, have been at the top of game changers before, but for one reason or another ended up off of those squads and have now been kind of trying to find the right free agent mix to make it back to that height. And instead of going with other players that they might have known from those previous teams or have been around as free agents for a while, they found this new talent. I was talking to Bungie, and she said that she found Rain just playing in 10-mans, just randomly, that Rain wasn't really a player that had competed before, got picked up by this roster, giving her a chance, and Hero was a friend of Rain, who also got picked up and is kind of having her first go of competition with this more experienced core of those 3 players. And I think that story is always really interesting, especially since both these players are super young. Hero's 18, Rain is just 16 years old, and while it is an online tournament, it's just a qualifier, I think it's really an opportunity for them to show their talent, and also for the more experienced members of this roster to get that opportunity to start to aim to re-hit the heights that they've had in the past.
Yeah, now let's talk about the experienced rosters, because you definitely threw a couple names out there that are very familiar to anybody who's been following Game Changers for a while. So Mimi, let's talk about Bungie and that experience with now, like, not only scouting, leading the team, and just essentially jetting her way into the scene here. What expectations do you have for Bungie seeing like these stat line?
I mean, my expectations are always sky high for Bungie. She was a star back when she was playing with XSET most recently, but has been around the block at the top of Game Changers for quite a while, and has been a player that a lot of people have been very excited for. And I think playing with this roster, her job is really just to be a star, to Bungie go kill. Despite the fact that those 2 newer players are young, they're good fraggers, they're playing the more supportive roles. This is a team that is built for Bungie to thrive as an individual on that jet role. And we've seen in the past that when she is given those opportunities, she will be a star for her squad.
Now, let's flip it over to the side of Colossal here. Wyatt, what are your thoughts? We have now known as Mommy Ari, and for everybody else that has been following from before, Ari Anarchist, if I'm saying that correctly. Yep. I mean, she's absolutely killer still to watch. And Wyatt, like, expectations, like stat lines, she has big backpack on her shoulders right now.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of the opposite of what I was saying when we were talking about Hero and Rain, and those 2 specifically just needing to do their jobs to support the experienced players on their team, support Bungie to be a star, enable that aspect of the team. Basically the opposite here. I think Ari does kind of have to go nuclear for this team to succeed in a match like this, playing the duelist role and being the player on the team who has the most experience. So with all that in mind, I think she's going to need to have a really big game here.
Yeah, I think she absolutely will, especially since this is kind of her project of trying to rebuild a roster around herself. In the past, she has been really successful at developing talent. She played for N2L, Nothing to Lose. That was kind of her first main project roster that I think most people knew her for. That squad ended up getting signed by XSET, and a version of some of those same players are obviously now proving to be very successful at this Game Changers, at some of the 2022 Game Changers events. But she ended up no longer being a part of that team, and that's kind of been her story for a while, where she'll make it to these signed teams, build something up, and then part ways with those squads, and has really been trying to find that consistency of being able to live out, I guess, kind of the goal of being a signed pro player, of competing at the top level of this scene. And for me, this roster is going to be for her kind of another attempt at doing that. If you can turn some heads, get eyes back on you, that's big, especially since in this squad, she's not playing. In the past, it's been the Viper, some more supportive roles. Here she's playing the primary duelist. She's diving in, she's picking into the Phoenix. She is really the kind of one player to watch for this Colossal Gaming squad who could be make or break in helping to even out those score lines from the last time these 2 squads faced off.
Yeah, and speaking of the last time these 2 squads faced off, we can circle it back, because we talked about the map picks and bans from their last matchup. We have the map picks and bans for this particular matchup right now. So I'm curious, let's see what they let through here. Lotus is now at the very end, if they ever make it to map number 3, and we're starting things off with the map that I like to call the Equalizer, which is Ascent. Now, Wyatt, this is Colossal's pick, but should they be still worried? Because I feel like this is still a map that Having Fun should be well versed in.
Yeah, it is definitely a big concern. Kind of what I was getting at before. I just think that this matchup is just a poor one in regards to the map picks here for Colossal. Fracture immediately being banned. Ascent, a map that Having Fun looked great on. Haven after that, a map they looked great on. Pushed Exet to the limit. And then Lotus, where they already, beat them, which was originally the pick for Colossal. I mean, this is set up here for a Having Fun win, and Colossal have to seriously overcome some tremendously poor odds.
Yeah, especially since with that first map, it will be Having Fun starting on the attacking side. That attacking side is what really won them the match and almost won them the series versus Xset. They had a really poor defense. They went down pretty heavily. And then, despite not winning the pistol round the second, managed to convert and run something like 9 or 10 rounds in a row to be able to win things out. They are really, really well coordinated and have good ideas of how to play their attacking side. And for me, with Colossal, last time that these two teams played off, it felt like they were kind of outmatched, right? It was 13-1, 13-3. That is a very one-sided affair. So for this Colossal squad, not only are you going into this with kind of the idea in the back of your head that, hey, these guys stomped us last time, this is going to be a difficult matchup, but you're playing on maps that play to their strength. It is going to be a really difficult one to pull back for Colossal.
So we Colossal having to play to Having Fun strength, but that's kind of I feel the gamble when it comes to the map picks and bans. And I was a little concerned with what they would let through this time around, because Wyatt, you touched up on the fact that, yeah, they were innovating with allowing Lotus and Pearl to be the two maps that they would play in. Now we're kind of going back to the tried and true OG maps of Valorant over here. So yes, perhaps you could argue that Having Fun have the advantage here, but if you're coming into this both with comfort pick map picks and comfort agent selections, Wyatt, do you think that it's going to be at least closer or a better shot for Colossal to actually take a map?
So I think the hope would be with Ascent being in the pool, and what I imagine Colossal's thought with that is they were able to review the map against Exet, try and figure out how they can, counter, to some extent counter Having Fun, but also exploit the weaknesses that they were displaying against Xset. Despite winning, like Mimi was talking about, they had to run it back in crazy fashion on attack, which is really uncommon on Ascent. The map is so defensive-sided at this point. And on that defense, Having Fun were really struggling with the fundamentals of the game, which is reasonable given how little time that team has actually been together. Like when it came to the crossfires, the positioning, their ability to help each other on the sites, that was really where they were lacking. And if Colossal were able to pick that up, watching that VOD back, maybe getting some ideas on how they could shut down the attack from watching what their game plan was, maybe there's a chance, but still, I think it's going to be extremely difficult. This would be a pretty unbelievable upset if it actually happened.
So, do you feel that... Okay, let's deep dive, even though we're not jumping into Agent Select just yet, because that typically ends up being what the caster's foray. And I want to take advantage of the fact that I have you on desk here, Wyatt. So tell me, do you expect to see a similar agent composition as far as what Colossal is going to be playing in? What sort of I need to double check if they're starting on attack or defense here. Okay, let's see. Their Colossal is going to start on defense on Ascent too. So that's going to be very impactful as far as what sort of agent composition they will be running. I've seen the Killjoys and the Cyphers coming into play for this. Are we going to see any shakeup here? Because it's almost, I wouldn't say a do or die situation for Colossal, but it might be.
I don't think we're going to see anything too out of the ordinary on this map. Even though on Ascent recently, we've seen teams in the wider scene as of late start to try some weird stuff with Gecko, Viper, etc. I don't really think we're going to see that here. What we saw from Having Fun against Xset was they were playing the most standard honest to God Valorant comp you could play on Ascent. They were doing everything that we've seen on Ascent for a long time, and there's nothing wrong with that. We've seen it for a long time because it's good. And I wouldn't be surprised if we essentially see the same from Colossal on the opposite end. I haven't seen what they played on Ascent previously, but I don't expect them to bring out anything crazy. I expect them to try to anti-strat, essentially. Take advantages of the weaknesses they saw.
Well, I would, deep dive Mimi's questions here, but she actually gets to have a little fun and fill in for our poor boy Vance and keep Gompers company. So she's actually going to be able to break down the agent select. So casters, take it away.
Yeah, unfortunately, Vance couldn't be here today, but it's okay. My first time casting with Mimi, so honestly, it's a blessing in disguise. Mimi, what's up?
Nothing much. It's me, Van Silly, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I am actually Van Silly. Fun fact. But yeah, I'm excited to get into this matchup. I think it's always interesting when you get to see a rematch when you've seen these two teams play together or play against each other so recently. It was having fun. Incredibly dominant in that initial matchup, so I'm hoping to maybe see a little bit more out of Colossal.
Honestly, yeah, me as well. But, once you come from a stomp, it gets pretty hard to keep that hope high. I do believe, though, maybe, with the newer maps coming into play and that possibly being a factor, that could have been one of the things that led Colossal to their demise. But, as we start to head into this game, there is the opportunity to see whether or not the Agent Select has that advantage moving forward.
Yeah, so we're already into the Agent Select here. I'm wondering if we get anything interesting, because Colossal, the last time you see this, they played this map, I believe, were trying out some creative stuff. It looks like they're actually going back to that. It's the Fade Breach Raise. So this composition for me reads, we want to enable Ahri not just as an individual, but also in that utility. This is a comp that's going to be centered around taking extremity control with the seize nades or stun nades, and I think it's a pretty interesting approach to Ascend.
Yeah, you actually proved a good point there, too. With Ahri being probably one of the biggest fraggers for this team as well, the best thing to do is to definitely set Ahri up for success, too. So, CSL already on that correct footing. I think, looking at this, though, again, you see a team as dominant as HF, and they're going for, the regular type of composition that they're used to. Bungie's taking on that jet, probably going to fight for some space down towards A, and really try to heavily contest that area.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at Bungie heading into this series. She has been a star on every roster that she has played on in the past, and while it is going to be a free agent squad this time, the expectations still very much high for her.
Yeah, this is going to have to be one of the biggest things for CSL, really putting their best foot forward. And I got to be real with you, Mimi. I'm looking for some sort of aggression starting off on that attack, trying to create and take up some of that space, because if not, you're going to see Bungie taking that space up for you.
Yeah, 2-3 split through mid initially here. It's actually going to be very fast up catwalk off that paranoia. And for CSL, they might just have to give this space play retake into A, but it's not a commitment. And this reaction is great with the B main push.
Yeah, early information too. Ahri, not really getting some damage down, but the pain shell to stop this push. You see some of that stall out. Bungie already on that aggression up towards down sight. But having fun, it really is sticking to the name, right? It's not like there is anything really in going against their favor. They're winning out all of these gunfights. So far, the pistol round is looking pretty spectacular on their side.
Julia's position is good here, but she will get cleared by that haunt. And for CSL, both their position towards spawn is known, and at this point, there's just so much stall utility that they have to fight through. It's going to require something really wild to break through this one.
Yeah, but as time starts to pass, right, there is the opportunity to get the entry in, but you see the contact holds, you see these cross holds as well. It's too strong, honestly, and already losing out on a majority of this fight starting off in the early game, it is going to be hard to come back from that.
Yeah, and off that initial round, I really liked the way that Having Fun was playing with the map there. They 3-2'd heavy towards B, and then just kind of feigned that push towards Catwalk. But CSL did react by re-pushing into B main, so it kind of ended up with the heavy fight being there. But again, Having Fun had a good reaction with the re-push into mid. Wyatt was talking on the desk about how, on their attacking side previously, they showed a lot stronger fundamentals than they did on their defense, and I think we are seeing that early on here again. But for CSL, they're actually going to force some marshals into this one, so can attempt to do some damage as it's a fast pop towards that.
I mean, all Bunny can fight for right now is trying to get some shots straight through the smoke. Bungie, though, contesting heavily down towards A. And again, Bungie, with the space creation, being able to really lead up to this moment.
Julia will teleport up top, so strong positioning in this post plant. 2 players still holding in main and plentiful utility. CSL's just going to try and flood out off this aftershock.
Now time going though, Julia, okay, 2K down, but you got Spectres, right? Everything is going in favor right now towards having fun. And again, right, it's the aim tools consistently. This is what we were expecting out of having fun in the beginning, but now, I mean, there is chance for equality.
Yeah, that's just a clean conversion out of them. CSL investing into the marshals there is a little interesting because it actually looked like one of their players might have even overbought and might be stuck down on a Bulldog this round. We'll have to see that once the replay is over. But yeah, for having fun. Just a nice execute there. It's a good initiator utility to set Bungie up to get those openers. And yeah, there's 2 Bulldogs on the server. I'm perfectly fine with light armor. I'm very light armor pilled. Buy it up. You can have more rifle rounds. It's a really good strategy, but they're doing their Common Core impression here and are going to be stuck on 2 worse weapons, which makes this bonus pretty dangerous for having fun.
Some pretty early information up towards mid. They actually didn't see any utility, which is a surprise to me. Because at that point, right, you have no information sticking around in mid. CSL, now they lose out on an opportunity to push past that. But they win out these gunfights. It's looking good so far. Right, aim completely there. And this is that first round that CSL is possibly able to commit to. Yeah, that 1-2 is looking great.
I'm liking the way that CSL is playing their composition in this round. I mean, it kind of forces you to be either play like into the heavy retakes like we saw in their bonus round, or excuse me, on their second round, or like we saw in the bonus round there, play on these kind of aggressive plays to retake space once your opponent chose somewhere. And that was the answer here. They see pressure towards B, they fast split through catwalk to flood retake before having fun can even fully get onto the site. And little util combos at the end there are good. Already, it feels like we're seeing a little bit better stuff from CSL, but that was just the anti-bonus round. It's going to be rifles versus rifles. And for that ult economy, having fun haven't really been able to get anything big online thus far. So they're just going to slow things down a little bit. Play a default 3-2, but another attempted aggression that is just shut down by Bungie.
Yeah, I like the approach, but there wasn't a lot of setup there, right? You're looking at util usage, Ari just blind peeking that. Not having a good understanding as to, you know, what exactly they're putting themselves into.
Yeah, and now this puts CSL in a position where they're completely re-clearing mid. They know that this is going to be a B hit, and there are 2 players here ready to anchor. Paranoia was a little bit early, and that teleport is just going to be canceled. So for the time being, having fun is completely stalled out, and they might even be pinched here. They hear those players rotating through mid.
Oh, and this is big too. You see Julia already prepping up for the shot. Tons of these players here for having fun, and one is heavier than many, right? You talked about Bungie being one of the stars of the show here for having fun, and I mean, at first sight, right? You're seeing the space already being taken up. They're slowly working their way down onto the site, but I don't even know what CSL was doing down towards mid. There was so much that they were fighting for, but they had absolutely nothing being put out.
Yeah, it was another one of these rounds where CSL tries to have a super quick reaction. They see having fun pushing towards mid, or excuse me, towards that B site, and they want to quickly rotate their cat players there so that they can play that pre-take off and support their Killjoy player that was on site. But in doing so, they're just sprinting through mid, and having fun. If they're still in main, they're always going to hear those players rotating, which gives an opportunity for them to react. Feels a little bit short-sighted there to not realize that that was a possibility, but still, it was a good adaptation from having fun off of getting that piece of information to rotate back towards the A site. This round is just going to be a save at this point for CSL, which is the right call, but these are somewhat worrying signs early on to me for the side of CSL.
Yeah, it really does feel like an iteration of before. And you know, when you see that 13-1, 13-3, again, right, the hopes really are sticking towards that low ground. So I feel like for CSL, with a player as strong as Ari, they're not utilizing Ari and their own utility to the best of their ability. You talked about that breach before, and that being such a big staple for this map and possibly seeing that come forward. And I feel like we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, thus far it's been a lot of emphasis on catwalk and mid, but this setup to me looks like they might actually be going for another one of these mid fights. You have your Fade player in main who can try and cat through to show if anyone's outside and could allow you to crunch, do a little bit of a shark attack. That is their idea, but it's somewhat of the wrong call. It is just going to be a full A exec here for having fun, which means it should just fall to a 5v5 retake.
Yeah, but again, right, look at the ultimate already coming through. You see Bungie clearing up the site in case anybody wants to preoccupy in that moment, but it's Rain getting shots through the smoke. It's like a miracle for this team. Every single shot they commit into this round is very valuable. And I mean, just as valuable as this flank coming down. Yeah. Right? This is the one round CSL need to win.
I mean, IO dying there means that they can just push heaven. This is such a strong positioning for the post flank. CSL is all flooding out from main.
No, but it's not enough. You see, having fun at this point, right? Rain is one of the star players as well, working up into this. The KD is amazing, and it's going to continue to look that way. Already another round win, and having fun are just unstoppable.
Yeah, they look fantastic. Rain, just 16 years old. A young star in the making for this squad pops off there. And again, that round feels like, in a way, it was a bit of an issue of the macro for CSL. When they lost their Killjoy player over towards the tree room, and they went for all 4 players on the flank, it means that your opponent can just push deep towards heaven, play the post from there, push deep towards tree. You run out of so many options. And for me, what I would like to see is honestly CSL just slow things down a little bit. Go for less of these early gambits. Maybe you can see nade here, stun nade there to take some initial space, but then take your time with these retakes, because their utility is actually really strong for playing these even or up number retakes when you have both the breach and the fade.
Yeah, they're really being tested for Colossal. And maybe this is the best thing for them as well, because, you know, really having to use every part of them to find those adaptations to come through. But as it seems right now, right, what chances are there with the Sheriffs? They have to work together here.
Even if they can't get around here, just getting some ults online is good. Lily 2 away from hers. Ari 1 away from hers as well. So just getting a kill or 2 here dying off is perfectly fine for the side of CSL, but it would like some damage.
Yeah, not gonna be easy. Okay, with Bungie watching that like a hawk, and again, it's having fun.
One enemy remaining.
Annihilating across the board again in a couple of seconds, a flawless, and it feels like this is what we're seeing every round, even with the Vandals impact for CSL.
Yeah, I would say at this point, fair to say, having fun is probably having fun. They're replicating what we saw in their attacking side versus Xset in just doing a good job of varying these hard executes as well as these slower rounds where they're taking some mid control. I think at this point they've realized that if they go for these hard execs, and the CSL is just going to go for these like reflanks and be forced to play the retake so often, that thus far has been unsuccessful. But now we do have another rifle v rifle round, and this time the ult economy is starting to come alive for CSL. So chances may be looking a little bit better here. They still post up in a crossfire mid.
Oh, nice flash, actually. And the showstopper, this is, I mean, tremendous so far, right? At least picking off that first shot. Ari, though, fighting way too wide. 2 angles, completely not watched and covered. And you got Luna trying to fight back for at least some of that redemption for HF, but I mean, it's already looking good so far.
Yeah, the trades there are fantastic out of HF. I like the idea for CSL, but going in that direction for numbers just isn't going to favor you in this late round. IO, though, still on the site, but Bungie has just ran past, found one, and now this gets really weird. Jumping around is Hero, but the Odin somehow comes out in time, and they manage to keep this momentum going.
It's making sense. Listen, and with the Odin being pulled out, I feel like now, Mimi, they are actually having fun, right? The Odin, it can't get any more chaotic than that.
I can say that. You're not allowed to say that. You can't make
not
that
allowed.
Okay. We already made it once. It's been too much already. No more puns.
No. Okay, so for the, I'll keep it to myself.
Yeah, be serious, please. Speaking of serious gameplay, the Stinger, a very serious weapon, and 5 of those are going to be bought on this eco for CSL. They're going for another gambit here. It's going to be a heavy fight for B main.
Oh, that was good. But unfortunately, Ari getting blinded out by the paranoia, so they can't fight even further, but not even being caught out. They get 2. And it's beautiful. B. CSL, I'm not even sure how they managed to pick this off, but they held that cross tight, nice and easy. A right click there for Bungie, and it's enough. But Julia, slowly peeking this angle. They're afraid. They know how many players are sitting behind her, but they can isolate these fights 1 by 1. And Julia is a monster.
That is absolutely incredible that she manages to pull that off, because it was looking perfect for Colossal. The right stack on the eco round. The fight's favorable. Meow is able to get 2 kills with nothing but a classic, but it all falls apart. And Julia is proving that she wants to be back on that stage. It's been a while since we've seen her in a GC main event. It's been a while since we've seen her signed with that Immortal squad, but she wants to return, and losing a round like that will prompt a timeout for actually the side of having fun here.
I'm surprised at that.
I imagine the idea is to just cool down off of that, right? Like you get really hyped off of a round win like that, and you're like kind of freaking out. It's like, okay, coach, we're going to take 60 seconds here. We're going to cool things off for a second and get a plan into the next round. And this gives us an opportunity to talk about the coaching. Not sure who's in that coaching bench for Colossal, but for having fun, it is actually Artstar who's coaching for this squad. She competed early days in VALORANT and obviously has a very, very storied history in women's esports in FPS, a 5-time world champion in Counter-Strike, and I think a really good voice to add to this team, especially since their IGL is so incredibly new to the scene. Rain, this is her first squad that she's taking on those duties, and having that extra voice to help coach her up and add some ideas to the squad, I'm sure is very helpful.
Yeah, and I mean with that, definitely looking for a flawless run too. Looking for that 13-1 once again as the timeout. Finally putting itself down. Luna shooting down that dart towards at least mid, back of sight. Mid, not back of sight. But again, I mean, there really isn't anyone hiding down towards mid. There's not a lot of mid control as CSL continuously losing that out before.
Yeah, they're contacting through B main here. Utility will show, and having fun is just holding for this one. Julia manages to pick up onto Lily. No one is there for trading, and they're falling back straight into Bungie. She has the perfect timing. No one is ready for her in this position. She might just grab a second as well.
Yeah, they're trying to pick things up very quickly. Having fun. I mean, first frag coming through. You get out 2 players so far. And that's going to be the fade and the raise. That damage completely gone. Some of that information along with it as well. So, I mean, what can you do? IO, hiding smoke, waiting. Once that dissipation goes down, Bungie is the first off that contact, but Rain catches it first. Nice and easy. It's a difficult round to win, I feel like, here for CSL, especially with this pinch already coming through.
I mean, they're just going to try and save, but I don't think they're going to be allowed. Bungie's hunting down. They'll find one. Maybe this entices them to actually make an attempt at this round.
Yeah, there isn't a possibility. Pinching this down. The Omen still watching down towards Jen. Rain, Hero. Yeah, Keepin's partnership.
Yeah, 8-1 now. Very dominant for having fun. This team is looking to make this a repeat of these teams' first matchup and find their way into that next stage, into the double elimination bracket. And here again for me, I think we're just showing some of the cracks in CSL's ideas. This composition that they've built in their game plan seems very reliant on going for these opening plays for space, pressuring A main, pressuring B main, and then going for fast flanks against the retake. But having fun has just been slowing things down, playing their mid control a little bit more, playing the default a little bit more. And thus far, they've just managed to cordon off and shut down these plays whenever they happen. And again, it's a shark attack split through B, but it's an A hit for having fun. So again, this is going to have to be a retake. And even though it's an eco, I honestly hope CSL uses some of these ults, makes an attempt at this one.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised to see that the turret was placed deep down inside of Tree due to the lack of exposure that we've seen from Tree as that smoke comes down for having fun. But again, IO not cut down inside of Hell. Bungie still missing a shot, but it's a good 2K. IO is owning it. And at this point, there is an opportunity. Picking up the Vandal, CSL bring it back and reel this point in.
A flawless round to get things going. That is a big turnaround for the CSL squad, and it's not really because they changed the game plan or adapted something big. It's just because IO is better. Getting 3 in Hell there is absolutely unbelievable from her, but inside of having fun, you would hope to see a little bit better job of getting some of that trading in to clear out that corner, maybe having some utility to get rid of that one, but it didn't happen, and you got to give credit for CSL. Maybe they can scrounge together 3-4 rounds in this half. They still have those big ults online with that Rolling Thunder, with that Killjoy lockdown. And again, it looks like they're going for an early fight. They're continuing to set these 2 players up between Meow and Ari in mid.
This is such a consistent ordeal that it is a bit surprising. that they continuously go for this, and despite the consistent results, they don't change anything down towards A. Now they're going to get a punishment for it, right? You can see the space being made up. IO can't clutch things again because they have to get themselves out of the site.
But I think this is better, right? You want to be playing full retake. Last time we saw a round like this, IO just died on the site and her 4 teammates all had to retake from main. This time, there's control towards heaven, but Bungie is trying to deny it, and she finds it dying onto IO, can push through for more here. Now he's going to go down as well. This round is now turned on its head. Only 3 players left for CSL. What a great reaction from Having Fun.
It's always been that way. Dominant. Coming across the board, they lose 1 round, they get another 5, and right now Ori, unfortunately, not even clearing. They're just gonna let Rain have it. 3K of flawless, whatnot. You know, you see it time and time again. Having fun. They're doing a good job, but
in the half.
I don't know. I feel like CSL. It's not like they're bad. It's one of those situations where they're just not utilizing everything in their arsenal.
Yeah, it feels like their game plan isn't working because the ideas around this composition are take early space, play for retake in the late round, and the retakes just have not been happening because players are dying before they can set up for that. Having Fun is getting a hold on the pace, and they are holding it. They are pushing through in their post plans, pressuring for more space, and it's really good against this composition because Colossal Gaming needs time to set up to play into those retakes, and if they can't contend with these aggressive players, they're going to just keep losing rounds as, again, Having Fun, fast execute.
Big here as well. Already losing that paranoia down. A bit too early for CSL, which, you know, a bit questionable. That util completely expanded forward down towards KJ. Now you got CSL fighting these fights down towards mid. This is exactly what I was talking about. This team knows how to aim and they know how to play. But again, it's rounds like these that really need to be committed to. They stopped that shark attack down towards B, and they finally kept themselves nice and situated and disciplined over hiding towards that B side.
Do you believe in curses, Darlene?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's kind of unfortunate for CSL. They do have a 9-3, though. This is winnable, because in that series versus XF, when Having Fun did play on this map, they were pretty rough, I would say, on their defensive side. XF was just playing a lot of, like, 1-3-1 slower defaults, and a lot of the time Having Fun was kind of letting slip an opportunity, and that ended up working against them. They went down 8-4 at that half, so maybe if some of those same issues show up, if as Wyatt was talking about on the desk, the prep work is there for CSL, this could be the half where they make things closer.
Do you believe in curses, Mimi?
No.
Okay.
But I do
well, it is unfortunate for CSL. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe a comeback is made, but a right click again and some backup there. Listen, it's Hero pulling an IO, but right now what Luna can do for Having Fun is really isolate those fights. I mean, listen, this pistol round is a bit messy, but it's working out. I mean, we're seeing a 2v3. The numbers are still there for Having Fun.
Yeah, the spaghetti sauce has fallen all across the mid. It's chaos there, but now we even out into a 2 versus 3, and the A site is taken by the side of CSL. It feels like they're going to need to make a play in the post plant here. If not, they're just going to get pinched in. IO makes an attempt, but she's down. Another headshot for Hero, and it's a 1v3 in the hands of Bunny.
And they had such a good advantage for CSL, letting it go once again. Bunny, though, I mean, listen, we've seen the impossible with IO getting those shots down with the Sheriff rounds before. Having to focus on that defuse, little right click needed, and it's another one. The reload for both of them, and Luna, what is going on? It's chaos.
But it's Having Fun, winning the round, and really, that was the one that CSL needed. It was enough. I mean, how many times have we seen these mid-link crunches? Another shark attack kind of hit, this time from Having Fun, leads that round getting wild, and honestly, before things even fell apart, what I'm noticing here is that after they kill Bungie, there's a bit of an unawareness. You see Ari just kind of hopping around, Meow swinging out from a smoke. It feels like the CSL squad, once they get an advantage, once they see a timing, they kind of overheat into it, and they're going so incredibly fast, and that's leaving gaps that Having Fun has been able to capitalize off of thus far.
Yeah, just better synergy overall, which is surprising because Colossal Gaming, they have a lot of these players actually having very close relationships with each other. Friends all across the board. Luna, though, again, fighting this down towards holes and being able to profit off of it. CSL really trying to bring things back over. Bungie making a move for themselves. The paranoia, I mean, that was a big shot, but not able to capitalize.
Look at Hero, though. She's found a timing, walking fast up lane. This could be everything.
Spike planted.
But is it? Hero? Yeah, it is everything. It absolutely is. But in 11-3, yeah, I don't know.
My thoughts thus far is that Hero is pretty damn good. I am impressed with what I'm seeing from these two new players. I did not know Rain or Hero ahead of watching them in this tournament because they haven't competed in the past. And they're looking solid. I think that the mid-rounding from Hero has been good, particularly on their attacking side, reacting when CSL goes for something aggressive. And the same thing has been happening thus far in the second half. The reactions have been good on this defensive side. They managed to pick up a second round here after they find this lovely timing. And at this point for CSL, it's like you have to keep forcing and hope you can maybe grab a round. This is well and truly dire straits for map 1.
And not a lot of chance for turnaround here as well, because we're again stuck in this pattern of CSL constantly trying to fight back for some of that economy. And the way things are looking this round, they lose this one out again, right? You're still stuck in that situation where, okay, we have to save. We're leaving things over towards that match point, and that pretty much is our only grounds for redemption.
Yeah, it's been tough. Technical pause in the works, though. Not sure what's up with this one. We'll get you folks word as soon as we know it. We'll get back into game, hopefully, promptly. But to talk about this matchup a little bit, I've been happy to see Bungie playing back again. She's looking fantastic as an individual on that jet, and I think has been looking good throughout the games that this squad has played thus far. I would say that they're probably, for me, one of the squads that I could actually see having good potential to make it into the main event.
I actually have to agree with you. I feel like for having fun, the only real obstacle that they had was obviously playing against Xset, but Bungie, right, obviously a star player going down towards CLG, and they were putting out the numbers consistently. The KD was just always unstoppable, always at that top point. Overall, though, I feel like, always being set up for success with Luna as well. I'm a big fan of Luna. I think Luna's util is always playing immense here. We'll probably be able to see some of it. You can see the breach util coming out to try to stall this out for CSL. But it's Bungie again, right? Having the teammates there, allowing that assistance to come through. Rain even now, right? Getting the right clicks down, but Luna's there for that trade-off.
Map point secured here for having fun. It's just a brawl on the A site. They trade just a tad bit better. And at this point, I'm wondering if they have something interesting hooked up off the Silvault. We saw them go for that aggressive play on round number 1 here on round number 13. One of the second half. Close enough in that one. If they have something cooked up at the Silvault, looks like they aren't going to make a play off of it. Instead, just setting up to fight for mid control, as CSL does want to head this one for a fast A exec. It's sad that that first half was so one-sided, because it means we don't get to see as much of what Colossal has built up on this attacking side. That is, unless they get this comeback going. So there's a lot of options with this breach fade composition.
Satchel out.
Yeah, this was their pick as well, so they were feeling comfortable with this one. This was one of the maps that they felt as if they could perform better and secure themselves a win. Luckily enough, I mean, Rain's sitting a bit too far out. Getting the shoulder. Watch.
Look at this fast replay. Already Bungie is behind them. I has no idea.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I won the fight. We saw the jumps. It's okay. It worked out, and that's the best thing for CSL, right? We're hitting that match point.
That is absurd, but it evens out 3 versus 4. Main control is that of having fun, and Hero has already found one. They don't know about Julia, but she's whipped the shots too. Everything is falling to pieces. A player running into the side of the head, Lily dying through a smoke. What was this round? What was this game? Absurdity for having fun, but they still come out on top, 13-3, taking the first map.
I feel like we saw a lot of things that we shouldn't have throughout this game. I'm not gonna lie to you. This whole thing was chaotic, but in a very good way. I feel like we got to see some of that personality from Colossal, and at the same time from having fun. And at the end of the day, it really did feel like they were owning up to that name, right? Just consistently pulling out those Odins over time, just honestly testing things out as well with, the amount of executions that we saw. I think it was a good game. Yeah,
it was. I'm interested to see what the ideas are for Colossal in the rest of the series, because what we saw in the last game that they were playing, also against having fun, is that they were cooking. They were trying out Gecko comps, they were trying to pick into Pearl and Lotus and play these maps that you don't see as much for free agent teams. And honestly, I might want to see them cook a little bit less, because I think most of the issues with this squad aren't coming from the ideas. I like some of the ideas we saw. The gambits with the breach fade, it's cool stuff, but I feel like a lot of the issues we're seeing are fundamental. It's understanding when we can be flanked, when someone on the enemy team can have that timing, and those little pieces of the comms are slipping through. So this is going to be a tough one now, but still, there's always a map number 2. There's always a chance for them to maybe bring things a bit closer.
Yeah, and we love chances, but Mimi, I think you have a second chance on the desk as well, so we'll be able to see you right after this break on the analyst desk.
Red Bull gives you wings.